What's going on, guys? Haxa here with another episode of Skul the Hero Slayer, and we are going into the third and final part of this item tier list bonanza that we've been doing. So far, we started with rares and commons, and then we did uniques, and now we are doing legendaries and omens. This has been quite the quite the experience. It's been a long time coming for sure, but I'm excited to be done with it and not have to worry about it until the devs release another humongous batch of items or change the game entirely again. Because this takes the wind out of me. I'll say. Also, excuse me there. I should apologize for that. But yeah, today we're gonna do legendaries. Don't really have too much to say here at the start. My criteria was laid out at the beginning of the first episode, and if you've been keeping up with this, you know what it is. But I imagine this will be the most exciting part for people since it's, legendaries, and people are excited by legendaries. So, if you want to know my like thoughts and the way that I've done this so far, watch part 1. All right, there we go. I said my thing. Let's get into it. We'll start with approaching, or no, Chimera's Poison Fang here. Let me pull up a Chimera's Poison Fang in Skul so I can accurately tell you guys what it does. It is a heritage poisoning item. Poisoned enemies at 20% HP or below die immediately, 10% for adventurers and bosses. Essentially, it operates as the dark ability, the one that, what's it called? I can't remember what it's freaking called. The one that immediately kills a boss. I do not have a high opinion of Chimera's Poison Fangs at all. It has that effect on it, which I despise, that is on so many different items and inscriptions and stuff in this game. That's like, this is worse against bosses and adventurers. It's like, oh god, why? I feel like it should be better against bosses and adventurers, because this executing enemies in rooms is almost meaningless. I guess for some people who don't necessarily know how to build runs to be powerful, something like this could be good. So if you're like a new player learning the game and you haven't quite grasped the fundamentals of Skul the Hero Slayer yet, something like this could be good for you. But being like executing enemies a little bit earlier than you normally would is not particularly useful, because like 10% sooner than they would have died otherwise, like that's almost nothing. And also another thing about this is kind of antithetical to poison as a strategy. Like poison is about massive damage, like damage over time, and like ticking the enemy to death, which already kills them very quickly. You just don't need something like this. So for me, I put this in C tier. I'll put it at the top of C tier, because it's not like a terrible item. If you're desperate for the poisoning inscription, I suppose you could make do with this. But like, this is the Chimera legendary item, which appears in the same chest as Contaminated Core. And like, you'd just be better off taking a Contaminated Core, honestly. Like, if you see them together, just take the Contaminated Core. But let's move on to an actual poison legendary I like. Poison is the only, I think, if I'm not mistaken, still to this day is the only status that has 2 legendary items. Though maybe I'm blanking on something. I don't think I am. Either way, this is the true poison legendary, the one we all love, Approaching Death. And let me pull up an Approaching Death in Skul so I can make sure I'm accurately telling you guys what this does. This is Poison and Hidden Blade, and it amplifies damage to poison enemies by 30%. So it's just like, you don't see amplification on many items at all. And the condition to get amplified damage for this, like, it's like nothing. Like, if you're playing a poison run, everything's going to be poisoned. So you just get free 30% amplification, which is massive, by the way. If you don't know the difference between increase and amplification, increase is additive, I gave the game away there. Amplification is multiplicative. So, like, this multiplies your damage by 30%. It's great. Approaching Death is an S tier item for sure. Easy S tier, high S tier even. Honestly, I think I can drop it right here and be perfectly content with that. I think that's a great place for Approaching Death. It's a very good item. It's definitely worth your time. If you've never used it, if you're not a fan of poison, I suggest you reconsider and maybe start by reconsidering approaching death. Although, excuse me, I Mike Tyson there. I accidentally put 2 Chimera's Poison Fangs in this tier list, so we're just gonna move this to the back and leave them there. So let's, wait, wasn't there something else there? Maybe I accidentally switched some things around. Did I, like, accidentally drag an item into the tier list somewhere? I don't see anything. Okay, I'm just gonna assume I didn't. Let's move on to Goblet of Everlasting Heat. I think that's the evolved version. Yeah, this is Goblet of Battlefields, a Goblet of Everlasting Heat, which we're going to be judging it as the Goblet of Everlasting Heat, as I've been doing with all Masterpiece items. Normal attacks, this is Masterpiece Mystery for the record. Normal attacks after using a skill causes a slashing attack that deals physical damage. Think of it much like the Mana Eater. It works in the same way. You cast a skill and then you normal attack, and it causes like a battlefield effect. A slashing attack deals 50% more damage to enemies with 50% HP or lower. The following effects are granted depending on the number of enemies near you. One enemy amplifies the damage of the slashing attack by 50%, so 100% amplified damage against enemies below 50% HP. And 4 enemies or more, the slashing attack increases in size. Goblet of Everlasting Heat is very good. In some ways, I think of it as Mana Eater, but like, I don't know. I was going to say worse, but like, it's not worse than Mana Eater. It's certainly better than Mana Eater. They're very similar effects. I don't know. I just feel like, so this is just my personal experience, and it's probably, I might be imagining it, but I feel like sometimes this just doesn't cast. And I don't know. Like sometimes I just feel like this item fails to cast. Like if I was running this on a little bone run in place of Mana Eater, I guess I have to use it again to really say for certain, but I feel like in the past I've noticed it not casting when Mana Eater would. But I don't know. I'll not put that into my assessment right now because I'm not certain about that. But I guess I'll just have to play with it again in the future. For now, let's just assume it casts as often as Mana Eater. This is very good. It's a very good Masterpiece item. Definitely a worthy addition to the gauntlet of Masterpiece items that make it worth building around. Where does that put it in the grand scheme of things? I would be my next question. I think it's probably somewhere around here. I'll put it here. Let's put it next to its brethren. The other unique status Masterpiece items. It's good. It's a good item. It's not like the best, but like it does a good job. And honestly, I never even noticed that it has 100% amp against enemies below 50% HP. That's fucking insane. Let's move on to Archbishop Scriptures, the Joan Legendary. This is I have a lot to say about this item, but I'll pull it up before I start ranting. So Archbishop Scriptures is Relic and Wisdom, so once again, Relic tacked on to it, which is unfortunate. Upon using a skill, punish a nearby enemy to deal magic damage. So what that means is like a laser beam shoots out of the sky and follows the enemy around, dealing damage to them. But think of it like the Joan attack in phase 1 where she has the pedestals and she like summons the big beam of light. It's basically that. The punishment moves toward a nearby enemy, and enemies hit by it receive 5% more amplified damage for 5 seconds, maximum of 50. So it follows the enemy around and applies a debuff to them that makes that lets you deal up to 50% more amplified damage to them for 5 seconds. So basically, what I have to say about this item is, back in the day, this item was very much disliked by the community. For one reason, is when the laser beam shot out of the sky, it didn't follow the enemy around. It would just sit there. However, back then, the item dealt like enormous damage, like huge. It still did the debuff. So like if they stood under it, the debuff would still apply to them. But the damage that this item did back then, like it would shred their HP. So not only were they getting the debuff, but they were also having their HP shredded by this item itself. But then the devs changed it because the community wouldn't stop complaining about the fact that it just sits there. and they lowered the damage massively. So now it deals like tiny damage, but still applies the debuff and allows you yourself to deal a bunch of damage. My gripe with, and this is me having a bone to pick with like Skul the Hero Slayer community from back in like early 2023 or late 2022. Y'all are on fucking watch right now. I don't even know how many of y'all still watch me, but you guys are on fucking watch. Because guess what you guys did? You ruined this, or you didn't ruin the item, it's still a good item. But you made it worse, man, by your complaining. What were y'all complaining about? Do you guys not understand? Dude, you literally only had this item to fight against the hero in normal mode. Like, because that was like, you get this at the Joan chest. So you literally only have this item for like a tiny portion of the game, which already sucks in and of itself. I wish the devs would kind of add a Slay the Spire style boss or a boss item reward system where like you can get like Goldmane Rapier out of the Yiggy chest. You can even get this item out of the Yiggy chest. But like you can also get Unknown Seed in the Joan chest just because like I don't know. Like I'd rather get Unknown Seed in the Joan chest than like never be able to use the orbs from the Joan or Leonia's Grace or Archbishop Scriptures from the beginning of the game. Just universalize the boss reward system. I've been saying this for a while, but back to the rant is like boss arenas are just squares. They're all just like squares. So like even though the beam didn't follow the enemy, it was still really, really easy to land the enemy in the beam because they can't escape. They're in a square. So like it consistently hit the enemy and it did massive fucking damage. But because people are so short-sighted and they don't have Haxa brain, you guys need more Haxa brain. You guys need to fucking just jump into my fucking mindset, please. And then we don't lose items like this, even though, like I said, it's still a good item. I'm just ranting right now. This is my soapbox. Like, we could still have old Archbishop Scriptures, which shredded the enemy, applied the debuff, and hit them fairly consistently. All you had to do was use your head and time it correctly. But now we have the neutered version, which deals like almost no damage, still applies the debuff. But like my rant basically amounts to like people were complaining about nothing because bosses are in squares. They can't escape. Like they still get hit by the old Grace of Leonia or Archbishop Scriptures. Either way, I'm done ranting. I just felt like saying that because yo, this is my soapbox, and I am zesty. I am a complainer. I love complaining, so I had to get that out of my system at the right time. But if you've watched my videos long enough, you probably heard me say this a million times. Anyways, this is a good item. It's not something I take often because it's competing with a slot for Grace of Leonia, right? And sure, this adds this allows you to deal 50% amplified damage, which is huge. But this is just constantly activating. If you have Go-Getter, this is doing massive damage, and I often have Go-Getter. There's always a conversation to be had in my community when I pass this up for this. People will start talking. Which, I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion. Like, if you prefer this item over this item, by all means, have fun. Oh, also, I forgot. No, I said the inscriptions. These are both Wisdom Relic. If you prefer this item over this item, by all means, have fun with it. But I personally am a Grace of Leonia stand, and it's just unfortunate that these two are offered next to each other always. Because if I see both of these together, I'm almost always going to take this. However, I don't think this is like next to this in the tier list. I think this is like, it's like high S tier for sure. Might even be here. But I don't know. In fact, no, I'm gonna put it like, I'll put it here. That seems good for me. I think the gap between this and this is enough to where I am always gonna take this. That's another thing. Like I said, universalized boss chest rewards, because like there's so many items that have to compete with each other that come out of the same boss chest. Like there may be instances where I would take Chimera's Poison Fang, if I'm on a poison run and I see these two together. But like if I'm on a poison run and I see these two together, I'm taking the Contaminated Core, or neither. But like still, like I'm not gonna take this really ever. Same with okay, not with this. The Yiggy chest rewards are just stupid, but like I don't want to spend too much time talking about this. We've already spent enough time, but like I don't know. It's just unfortunate the way the reward system works in this game sometimes. All right, this is the moment I think a lot of people have probably been waiting for, at least those who are 1.9 pilled. This is the Crown of Thorns, literally the most zero to hero story maybe ever in this game. This is a masterpiece misfortune item. Let me spawn one in so I can accurately describe what it does. I typed misfortune like a bozo. I'm going to be tiering it as Bloody Crown of Thorns, but like it genuinely doesn't matter. Both of them are incredible. If you can't get a Bloody Crown of Thorns, don't worry. Still pick up Crown of Thorns. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. Critical hits conjure spikes that deal additional physical damage to nearby enemies. Each subsequent critical hit performed within 5 seconds after the last amplifies the physical damage of the spikes by 10% up to 120%. So basically what this item does is it scales itself. It's really unique in that sense where like most items give you universal. Also, I'm running around in Skul. I'm just trying to occupy my mind, I guess. Whenever you're most items in the game give you like they increase or amplify your universal damage, whereas this item uniquely, although there may be other cases and I'm not thinking of it on the spot, but this item uniquely only scales itself whenever you crit within a certain amount of time from the last crit. But like it doesn't really matter as long as the damage this deals is good. And before 1.9 came out, the answer to that was no. Like and this is another example of the thing I've been talking about from time to time across this tier list is items that have inherent like inbuilt cooldowns on them often are ruined by that. Like we can point to Explosive Arrow, we can point to Stigma Leg. This item had a 1 second internal cooldown, and it basically made it an unusable crit item. However, in 1.9, the devs removed that cooldown in one of the most psychotic moves I've ever seen in my life. Not since they added 10% crit rate to this item, I have not seen anything that unhinged. But in 1.9, they took away the internal cooldown and made this item unquestionably the best item in Skul the Hero Slayer. Bar none. Crown of Thorns is it. It's the hero. It is the shit. Crown of Thorns is absurdly powerful because now it doesn't have that inbuilt cooldown, so it's as powerful as Invisible Knife. However, unlike Invisible Knife, it scales its own damage, and also its like starting point with its damage, the damage that the item does that you can't see the numbers of is higher than Invisible Knife. So this starting point is higher, and then it scales itself even more. Crown of Thorns is on another level. It honestly eclipses all of these items. Like, you are looking at the cream of the crop. So a lot of people were probably expecting this if you're familiar with 1.9. And here we are. We got here. It's Crown of Thorns' era. And it's hard to say if it will ever be stopped. Because even if they nerfed it and like lowered its damage, then it's just like a second physical Invisible Knife. And like, you can't really go wrong with that. Like, any item that procs that consistently is just going to be good no matter what you do to it. So, yep, it's a new era, guys. 1.9 changed the game. Anyways, let's move on to Cursed Live Embers. This is the Arson Legendary. It is Heirloom Arson, and let me spawn one in so we can get an accurate assessment of this item. Cursed Live Embers. This is embers explode at the end of a burn duration, dealing magic damage. So basically, Arson 4 is at the end of burn duration, a firestorm erupts, dealing magic damage with a 30% chance to burn enemies. So Arson 4 is basically this item's effect. So basically what Cursed Live Embers does is it like gives you a second explosion that Arson 4 already provides. So it basically makes the effect happen twice. And the cool thing about Arson is when you apply Arson, it technically ends the duration of the last Arson that was already on the enemy. So what ends up happening is you have this item in Arson 4, and you and you repeatedly over and over apply arson with something like Charred Jamadar, and this and Arson 4 are just popping off constantly, constant explosions of fire, and it deals a ton of damage. Cursed Live Embers is fantastic, and really in general Arson is fantastic. I'd love to do an inscription tier list down the line and get into this kind of thing, but like Arson is like it's slowly risen from the ashes, you could say. Back in the day I didn't have a lot of respect for it. But with like the advent of enhanced inscriptions and just buffs to arson items over time, arson has slowly but surely risen the ranks to be one of the more consistent statuses. It might even rival poison in terms of offensive status consistency. I'm certain that Cursed Live Embers is like near approaching death in the tier list. It's S tier for sure. I'd like to put them right next to each other. What I'm wondering is if which one is actually better. I think honestly, Approaching Death is probably at the end of the day better because the effect is simple and powerful. But this is powerful, without a shred of doubt. Arson enjoyers rejoice, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Let's move on to one of the newer items added in the DLC. This is Storm Clouds. Storm Clouds, let me spawn one in for us so we can accurately... It'd be really nice if we had a wiki that made this easier. Gains 20 charge upon using a skill, maximum 100. Charge decreases by 1 second. Oh, also Manatech Mystery, just want to say that. And normal attacking will strike a random enemy, a nearby enemy with lightning dealing magic damage. The chance of lightning occurring is equal to the charge number. So when you have 100 lightning, you have a 100% chance to charge to get a lightning strike. When you have like 90 lightning, it's a 90% chance. When you reach the maximum charge number, you enter a state of ultimate charge for 7 seconds, preventing charge from decreasing and enhancing the lightning strikes. Cooldown 15 seconds. Storm Clouds is excellent. Man, dude, the DLC added so many good items. Storm Clouds is like, obviously you need to be on a run that has like a healthy amount of skill casting and basic attacks to make it really work, which is like, even on the most like dedicated basic attack run, unless you're like doing crit items basics or something, which is fairly common, I guess I should acknowledge. But most runs are going to be, if you're doing basic attack stuff, you're also going to be casting your skills. So like getting a run where this item is useful and is performing well is not hard at all. Storm Clouds is great. I like it a lot. It has Manatech, which I'm a fan of. Mystery, I'm fine with. It's not like an incredible inscription, but having Mystery too is always fine by me. Definitely I would put it in S tier. I'm just trying to think of where I would put it in S tier. I'm trying to think if there's anything I can compare it to that's already in S tier. You could technically compare it to something like Evil Sword or Mana Gauntlet. I don't think it's quite as good as those, but it is very good. Maybe like here. I think this is probably a pretty good spot. Also, look how big our S tier is getting. It's starting to rival some of the other tiers. Like I said at the start of this tier list, I don't have a low opinion on a ton of items. Even items in B tier, I'm fine with. I'd say these are the questionable items for me, where it's like I don't really understand why they exist in the state they do. Whereas these items, it's like I'm fine with these. These are acceptable, and anything above here I like. So just to kind of give you an idea of where I'm at in that regard. But yeah, Storm Clouds is excellent. Very good addition to the game. I love basic attack activation items, so more of those, please. Anyways, let's move on to a thing that's probably going to take me a bit. We'll actually start by finally ranking these two, and then we'll move into their counterparts. And also, I'm going to pull up these two Omens here. Like, I wasn't going to talk about Omens until after I got done with the Legendaries, but it definitely makes sense to tier all of these together. And also this. Oh, and also, also this. So here comes a huge segment of fucking talking about dang Sun and Moon. But here's the Solar Sword and Lunar Ring. These are fairly simple to get through. These are basically just means to an end. Honestly, this is Solar Sword and Lunar Ring plus 40% damage in the physical or magic direction. This one's physical, this one's magic. They have arms and artifact, and they have the special inscription Sun and Moon. And when you have two Sun and Moon items together, it transforms into a new item. So if you have these two items together, it transforms into something else, and then you just get kind of crazy with it, which we'll be getting into soon. These are like low A tier items. Maybe even at the... Nah, they're not at the bottom. They're still better than some of this stuff. We'll do the meme here again about orc existing, I guess. This is fine by me. Like I said, these are means to an end. You really don't want to end your run with one of these. Sometimes it happens if you hold on to the Fulgent Dawn Copium for too long, you'll end up with one of these at the end of your run. Not a huge deal if that happens though, but the goal is to transform them. And if you don't transform them, they should go. So just keep that in mind. Let's move on to the first iteration of, like, this is the OG addition to the game that these things stem or are meant to build towards. This is Fulgent Dawn. And Fulgent Dawn used to be my mortal enemy, but things have changed so much in this game. When Fulgent Dawn first came out, I was like very determined to never take it because I thought it was too powerful. And it is still pretty powerful, but power creep has kind of, like, it's still a great item, but power creep has certainly changed the game. Anyways, this is arms and artifact together. Increases physical and magic attack by 80%. Attacking a nearby enemy unleashes Light of Dawn, dealing damage to nearby enemies based on the higher between magic and physical. Cooldown 50 seconds. So Fulgent Dawn is basically like one of those mixed damage enablers that makes it easy, even though it still is easy to build mixed damage runs. Fulgent Dawn is the thing that kind of like gets it off the ground, and it's like the thing that I first, like, when I first started hypothesizing that mixed damage was like viable and good, like this is like the item I had in mind when I was thinking about that. Though most people don't build mixed damage runs with Fulgent Dawn, they just build like they basically take it as a damage boost for their preferred focus. And the thing that makes Fulgent Dawn so interesting and powerful is yes, it is a legendary, but it stems from 2 rares. You get this when you combine these 2 rares together. And it's hard to say what the rarity of Fulgent Dawn actually is. I've always held that it's like less than a unique, or at least that's what I held back in the day. I actually think it probably is closer to a unique these days because they've added so many new items to the game that make it harder to see these 2 items. They've also added alternatives to Fulgent Dawn, which you can get. So I would wager Fulgent Dawn is more of a unique these days in terms of like the actual rarity of it, where like the difficulty of obtaining it, which makes it very consistent and very powerful to have on your runs. It's definitely a high S tier item for sure. Like we're talking like top row. I honestly think it's probably perfectly fine there. I could see putting it here though. And if I were to do that, I would probably move it here. But frankly, I think it's fine right here. Very, very powerful. It's probably going to stay in the top row, I would imagine, though we do have some newcomers soon for the top row, so who's to say? But yeah, it's good. Fulgent Dawn, you know, it doesn't need me to gas it up. Everyone's already gassed up Fulgent Dawn enough. Let's move on. Oh, wait, it might get knocked out of the top row, actually, now that I really think about it, because we got these 2 coming up, which we're going to tier together. This is a Dawn of the... Hang on, let me... It's like... The item names always escape me. In fact, I'm going to do this with the inscriptions, because, that's going to make it easier for me. Arms, we have, where is it? A blonde? Where the hell is it? Oh, here it is. Dawn of the Crimson Sun. And, where's Artifact? Dawn of the Argent Moon. Okay. So, Dawn... Sorry that took so long. We have Dawn of the Crimson Sun and Dawn of the Argent Moon. I was just trying to gather the names of these items. So, I will try and be brief with this, because, like, I can read one of these and get the idea of what the other one does across to you guys. So we'll read Dawn of the Crimson Sun. Increases physical attack by 100%. Argent Moon is magic by 100. Attacking an enemy unleashes a Crimson Light of Dawn, which deals physical damage to nearby enemies. Cooldown 50 seconds. The other one unleashes an Argent Light, which deals magic damage. Cooldown 50 seconds. These are like sister items. You get these by combining your Solar Sword with a Solar Sword, or your Argent Moon with an Argent Moon. And there are various ways you can do this. The most common way is with the Slime NPC. But you can also get lucky in a shop and open like an arms box while a Solar Sword is on the table to purchase. And a Solar Sword comes out of that, and then you buy that Solar Sword, and you combine them. There's multiple ways to do it, but the most common way, and probably the way you've done it for most of the time you've played this game, is via the slime. You do not see these items often, but whenever you do see them, they are like enormous. Oh, and also the inscriptions are arms, artifacts, just to make that clear. These are like enormous enhancements to builds, like huge fucking enhancements. Like, it really doesn't get much bigger. If you can get these on a run where you're focusing that damage type, and even like these alone can kind of be incentivizations to build mixed damage. And I've done that from time to time. Not that I've seen these items often as it stands, but like these are enormous enhancements to runs. Frankly, I'm just going to put them both here and here, and look, Fulgent Dawn's falling out of the top row. In fact, Fulgent Dawn will fall out of the top row. That's cool. That's where we're at in Skul. But yeah, like, very rare to find, but when you find them, you're very happy. Let's talk about this thing. This is our first Omen, and I kind of wanted to talk about Omens at the latter half of the run, but we'll talk about, or the run, tier list, but we'll talk about Omens now briefly. If you are unaware, which I don't imagine why you would be, but maybe you are, Omens are a unique type of item in this game. They sell for the amount unique sell for, but they are their own thing. Omens are items that always have the Omen inscription, and the Omen inscription I won't talk about too much, but I'll just say is a detriment. It's a bad inscription that the more Omen you have, the worse it is for you. Which makes this item very interesting, because this is Omen, Sun, and Moon, and I'll spawn it in so we can accurately get a good idea of what it does. Where the heck is it? Here it is. This is Shard of Darkness. Omen, Sun, and Moon. Physical and magic attack increased by 70%. But keep in mind, you have the Omen. So, pretty gnarly. This is definitely a terrible item. Like, unequivocally, it's bad. I'm not going to put it in D tier. I am going to put it in C tier. I'm going to put it, like, maybe, like, I don't know. I'll put it here. It doesn't really matter that much where I put it. I'll put it there. This Omen is one of the worst Omens in the game to just carry on its own, because it gives you almost nothing for what it's taking from you. 70 damage percent is nothing when it comes to Omens. Like, if I'm going to be carrying an Omen, I'd better be carrying it for something damn good. And this is not damn good. This is damn bad. So, C tier for that. However, once you combine it with a Solar Sword or a Lunar Ring, we kind of get to talking a little bit, you know? We kind of get to a little bit more conversations about the quality of carrying such a burden, because the Solar Sword and the Lunar Ring combine into, where the frick is it? Solar Eclipse and Lunar Eclipse. Dadoy. Solar Eclipse, and we'll read these both together because you get the, like, we'll do this, we'll treat it the same way we taught the Crimson and the Argent shit. Solar Eclipse reads like this. Physical attack increases by 150%, which Lunar Ring or Lunar Eclipse does magic. Upon receiving fatal damage, restore 1 HP to survive death and become invincible for 3 seconds. This effect will not be triggered again until 50 enemies are slain. So these are very interesting Omens to me, because once you get these Omens, you cannot obtain the Fulgent or any of its variants. And to me, that's interesting because, sure, 150 damage percent's nice, and the Death Defy is cool, but, like, the Death Defy is almost like, it's like, yeah, I know you got this Omen, and I know you're taking a bunch of damage because of it, so yeah, here's like a Death Defy, I guess, even though you wouldn't probably need the Death Defy if you didn't have the Omen to begin with. So, like, I just look at the Death Defy as a consolation prize. I'm looking at that 150. 150 is nice. Don't get it twisted. That's a lot of damage. However, Fulgent Dawn already gives a bunch of damage. It gives 85, right? No, 80. And on top of that, it has good inscriptions, whereas this is arms, omen, or artifact omen. And Fulgent Dawn gives you arms and artifact. And on top of that, Fulgent Dawn has the blast, which is very powerful, like the extra bit of damage it deals. Also, I was running around in Skul again because I'm a bozo. So basically, you're trading in your good inscriptions and go-getter value for items that give you dense damage scaling. And for me personally, I'm on the side of Fulgent Dawn when the question of like, do you combine your Solar Sword and Lunar Ring with each other, or do you combine it with the Shard of Darkness? For me, I'm a big Fulgent Dawn guy. But that's just because I like mixed damage. If you're like a solo damage dealer, you don't like mixed damage runs, maybe you prefer these. I think these are S tier items, which is going to be rare for Omens, at least for most Omens. I don't use them very often, but they are good. The Death Defy certainly helps, I guess, even though it's kind of a meme. Where do I put these? We're going to do the meme of Existence of Orc again. Like, Omen is what's making this hard, because Omen is such a detriment. I think I'll drop him here. And no, I won't. Because then I look down and I see Stigma Balls and like this here, and it's like, God, these are better. This looks good. Drop it here. I'll drop it here. Yeah, that looks a lot better to me. Yeah, these are good items, but they're not incredible. They're fine. They're certainly not better than Fulgent Dawn, in my humble opinion. Anyways, now we talk about this thing. This creature. This is Omen. Hang on, let me. I honestly, the name even escapes me because it's so rare to find this thing. Trying to find Omen in this list of inscriptions. Where the hell? Oh, there it is. This is Unknown Darkness. This is Omen inscriptions. This is the item you get when you combine a Shard of Darkness with a Shard of Darkness, which the only method to do this, unlike the other things, is via the slime. The only way you can do it is by that. And this is one of the gnarliest items in Skul. So let's just read it. Physical attack and magic attack increases by 250%. Upon receiving fatal damage, restore 1 HP to survive death and become invincible for 3 seconds. It all sounds very familiar up to this point, huh? This effect will not be triggered again until 50 enemies are defeated. Yeah, there you go. However, this is the catch. Each time this effect is activated, they're talking about the Death Defiance, increase physical attack and magic attack by 100%. Up to 400% increase. So this item alone can give you 650 damage percent if you proc it every single time. If you die on purpose 4 times and then revive, you can get up to 400% increase from your 250 default to be up to 650 damage. So this item's hard to tier for a number of reasons. And I hope I don't spend too much time on this one, but it's going to take me a while to talk about this, so let's begin. This is probably the rarest, and not even, this is the rarest item in Skul the Hero Slayer. Bar none. The problem with this item is if you find the slime NPC early enough, it's fine. Like, basically, if you find the Shard of Darkness and you haven't found your slime NPC yet, and you're past Act 2, the way that you guarantee getting this item duped is by either you manipulate the slime NPC the way I mentioned in the last video, where like he prefers certain items. Like, imagine this is an inventory here. The slime will, if you have 9 items, he will favor 2, 5, 9. And for every, like, if you have 8 items, I know he also has item slots he favors. I only have 9 memorized. You can put your Shard of Darkness in that, like, imagine Shard of Darkness is here. You can put it like here, and then hope of the item slots that he favors, he grabs the Shard of Darkness, and then gives you Unknown Darkness. Or you can delete all of your items except for the Shard of Darkness, and then guarantee that it dupes. But like I said, if you're out of Act 2, that's not smart. That's stupid. Like, sure, it's cool, you're getting the Shard of Darkness, but at the same time, you're probably dead. Like, in Act 3, just flat 250 with Omen is not good enough to make up for just literally deleting your entire build up to that point. So all of that is a way to say this item is obscenely rare. In all of my hours of playing Skul, I have 2,600 hours in this game, I've seen it twice. However, I'm sure some of you out there have seen it more because a lot of people cheat. You know, I'm not pointing any fingers or anything, but you'll cheat in one way or another, either by spawning it in via dev menu, or you will talk to the slime NPC, see which item he dupes, and if you're in an item room, you will juggle that item to that slot. Like, say he somehow dupes this. Like, you will save and you'll exit the game and then relaunch it, and the room will be restarted, and you will juggle your Shard of Darkness to be here. And then, since the slime always targets the same slot on the run where he targets it, he will then dupe the Shard. Like, basically, I'm trying to say is some of y'all have seen this more than me, but I'd like to play fair. And I'm not even saying this in like a, hey, you guys cheat and I don't kind of way. I'm just being real. Like, you guys like to I like to play fair, and I don't cheat. So that's why I've only seen this item twice. Also, it's Omen. Like, Omen, just 2 Omen inscriptions, which is vile. It's vile. Like, I'm not going to get too much into what Omen does, but I will just tell y'all right now, if you are unaware, that is bad. However, this item is not bad. I'm just saying, like, it is hard to play with. And also the fact that it demands so much death on your behalf is, like, so scary. You have to time it very well. And, like, basically when you're about to enter a shop or something, you die on purpose, and then you buy the food in the shop and hope you don't get Enemet 100 years. There's a lot that can go wrong with Shard of Darkness. But at the same time, you can just, like, buy last resistances and make... Or no, you don't need last resistance because it's Death Defiance. It has its own Death Defiance. Excuse me. Just all this to say the item's hard to talk about, like, because, like, in terms of, like, what it does, it's, like, up here. Like, if we weren't paying attention to all the other aspects of it, like the Omen, it would be, like, right the fuck up here. However, this is just hard for me to tier because I've barely ever used it. And it's just, like, it's a very fucking weird item. Like, it's so unique. I do think it's near the top of the tier list, but I honestly think it's probably, like, here. Like, I don't think it's I still don't think it's better than Fulgent Dawn, because it's unsafe. Like, the damage is just enormous. It's, like, almost incomprehensible how much damage this gives you by itself. However, there is another Omen that competes with it, which is really funny because it doesn't have even close to the level of danger that this Omen presents. This item's fun, I think, is what I can say about it at the end of the day. I've used it. I had a run not too long ago where I finally got it. It's good. It's very good. It's a very good item. It's fun, but it is weird. So I'm just going to leave it here and just call it a day. I will hear people who say, like, oh, dude, it's too low. It's better than you think it is. Okay. Feel free to think that. But, like, I'm just keeping it real. That shit's dangerous as fuck. All right, let's move on from it. We spent too much time on it, but it is an item that definitely bears discussion. Anyways, let's talk about Pain and Despair here, which talk about Pain and Despair being called Pain and Despair is honestly poetic. This is Hidden Blade Rapidity. Let me spawn one in just to get a good idea for it. Increase attack speed by 50% for every normal attack, skill, or dash attack. Increase attack speed by 2% and movement speed by 1%. Max 40 and 20. So this is an item that is just all about giving you attack speed. At its max, it gives you 90% attack speed and 20% movement speed. Pain and Despair is just an item that is past its retirement age, basically, is how I feel about it. Is it bad? Not really. Is it good, though? In modern Skul the Hero Slayer? No. Pain and Despair needs changes, in my opinion. It needs damage of some kind or a unique effect. Like maybe at max it shoots little projectiles or something. It does need something more than what it does, though, because as it stands, it's a stat stick. It has one good inscription and one terrible inscription. The stats that it gives you are not the most necessary stats. There are way more important things than attack speed, and you can get attack speed on items that also scale your damage or give an additional effect, like Goldmane Rapier, for instance. There's a lot of items in this game that just outperform and make this item look outdated, because the game has changed significantly since it was introduced. In normal mode, before the Dark Mirror and like the in-game Gauntlet were a thing, this item was perfectly fine. In fact, it was good. And I'm sure like speedrunners probably still like this item. There's people who still get value out of this. But for me personally, I think this, for emphasis, needs to be put into C tier. Just in case the devs ever see this somehow and they're curious about what like long-term community members think of their game. Just this item needs some changes, and I do think it belongs in C tier, but even if I didn't, I'd probably still put it down here. It needs changes. It needs buffs. Let's move on to Doomsday, which is a funny item that I'm very excited to talk about, because this is one of the long-lasting jokes of the community that I think deserves a little more respect than it gets, at least these days, because Doomsday used to be something I dumped on as well, but nowadays I have more respect for it, and I'll get into why. This is Brawl Execute. Creates an Apocalypse every 4 to 4 seconds. Apocalypse reduces all skill cooldowns by 5 seconds and triggers an explosion after 11 seconds, dealing fixed damage. The explosion damage is proportional to physical damage dealt to enemies between the Apocalypse and the explosion. So essentially, every 44 seconds, this creates like and technically it's like 33 seconds since the Apocalypse lasts for 11 seconds. But it triggers a scenario where like you want to deal as much physical damage as possible in the duration where it's happening, and at the end of that duration, every amount of physical damage you dealt is dealt to the enemies again. The problem with Doomsday historically and really contemporarily has always been that the Doomsday starts activating at the worst fucking times because you have no control over it, and it takes 11 seconds to pop off. So like you'll be in a room fighting enemies, you're about to get out of the room and you're about to beat them, but then Doomsday starts proccing and you're like, oh my god, really, Doomsday again, always with this bullshit. And it starts, you kill like the last enemy and you walk to the end of the room. It took you like 5 seconds to walk to the door. It took you like 3 seconds to choose your item that you wanted out of the chest or whatever, and then you go into the next room and it like procs immediately before the enemies even spawn in and just does absolutely nothing. What makes me respect this item more these days is the existence of the in-game gauntlet, as I like to call it, Dark Hero, Dark Skul, Alexander. And it kind of ties into a rant I did earlier, which is boss arenas are just squares. They can't escape this. The only way a boss can escape Doomsday now in the in-game gauntlet is if they're like doing an iframe attack where they're invincible, or like a cutscene happens or something. But Doomsday hits way more often now than it did back in the day. But another thing worth pointing out about Doomsday, also I'm in Skul the Hero Slayer again, I apologize. Another thing worth pointing out about Doomsday is it also has incredible inscriptions on it. And that wasn't always the case, because Execute, it's been good for a while. Brawl took a while to get good, but also I think Brawl and Execute actually became good at the same patch. It was like 1.7.3 or something. Which is fairly recent, within the last year. So like for a while this has had good inscriptions on it, which people never really seem to notice. But Brawl is one of the best inscriptions in the game, and Execute's among it as well. Also worth pointing out is what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. Before the recent edition 1.8 added like Alexander and Dark Skul, having this just so you could trap the Dark Hero in a square, like I've been saying, in an arena where he can't escape, like that wasn't enough to justify carrying a Doomsday, in my opinion. because like it's just one boss, and even though he's hard, like what, you're gonna pick up a Doomsday to carry it just so you stand a good chance against the Dark Hero. But like picking up a Doomsday and carrying it to the end of the game so you stand a better chance against the Dark Hero, Dark Skull, and Alexander, that's a lot more justifiable than just one boss. So for all of those reasons, my opinion on Doomsday has gone up a lot, which will probably be one of the more controversial things I do in this tier list. I don't think it's S tier. I do think it's high A tier, like somewhere up here. I even think I could maybe get away with putting it here. I think that's fine. Doomsday is a lot better than people give it credit for, and I would suggest that people, drop the memes, drop their biases, and try it. Because I promise you, it's not going to wow you or anything, but it is going to, it's going to go over your extremely bottom of the barrel D tier expectations for it. So that's all I wanted to say about Doomsday. Let's move on to Demon Sword of the what the fuck is this item called again? Something along those lines. Demon Sword of the End. This is one of the new items added in the most recent DLC. It's Wisdom Mystery, as all DLC items are a mystery. Increases attack speed by 35%, so compare that to Approaching Death. This is additional attack speed, but also something else with it. On the 4th normal attack, shoots out a cutting wave dealing magic damage. Shoots out 4 cutting waves simultaneously on the 7th cutting wave. So basically, when you proc this a certain amount of times, it shoots out more attack waves. It's basically a little, I don't know, I guess one of the more comparable items to it, I guess, is like Thief Armor, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of a interesting item. There's not a lot of comparisons to make with it. It's not an item I've gotten to use a ton, I guess. I have respect for it to an extent. Whenever I take it, I don't think it's bad, but I am a little underwhelmed. I think it recently got buffed though, and I don't think I've gotten to play with it. I think it got buffed in 1.9. And I haven't really gotten to play with it since it got buffed, so I'm kind of going on an opinion from the 1.8 era. But like, if it's an S tier item, it's barely an S tier item. I think Wisdom saves it, as well as like the attack speed. And also like the damaging projectiles aren't bad. I just wish they were better. But they probably are better now. But like, I was even tempted to put it in A tier. Also, if you hear anything in the background, I apologize. I was even tempted to put it in A tier. But I think I'll put it in S tier. Like, I think I'll put it like here. It's probably better than Hate Stone. Seeing Hate Stone above it was like kind of weird for me. It's probably about right here. It's good, but is it incredible? Not really. But maybe it is now, because it did get changed. Anyways, let's move on to Glacier Breaker. This is one of my pet items that I just adore. Glacier Breaker is kind of like the freeze run carry, which is both good and bad for freeze, but we're not here to talk about inscriptions. Let's talk about Glacier Breaker. Glacier Breaker is Absolute Zero and Execute, so 2 good inscriptions. Amplifies damage to frozen enemies by 30%, so very similar vein to Approaching Death in that regard. Damaging a frozen enemy deals an additional magic damage. So whenever you hit an enemy that is frozen with Glacier Breaker, they take additional damage, and it's amplified by 30%. This is a very, very, very good legendary. Pretty much all the status legendaries are good in one way or another. I love them all. Yeah, like the problem with this item, and like I said, I'm not here to talk about inscriptions too much, but I do want to say this, is it's like so powerful that it kind of over centralizes Absolute Zero runs, where if you, and I mentioned this when I was talking about Frost Witch's staff, but like if you don't have Glacier Breaker, Frost runs or just Absolute Zero runs feel a lot worse, whereas like if you don't have Cursed Live Embers, it sucks, but you could still build a really good Arson run. Same with Poison. And it's not as true as it used to be. Like back in the day, This was like one of the more inconsistent status inscriptions, but it's a little bit better these days. You don't need Glacier Breaker as much as you used to, but you still want Glacier Breaker. And for that reason, I'm going to put it right next to its buddies. This belongs... It's actually interesting how consistent the status legendaries are. They really are about as good as all of the other ones. But yeah, I am a fan. I do like it. Let's move on to these items, which I'm kind of dreading talking about. So I want to get through this as quickly as possible. These are the Treasure Plus legendaries. If you take Treasure 4 to the end of a run, you can enhance the inscription and you will get one of these items. I will spawn them all in now. The reason I'm dreading talking about these items is because I don't really care for Treasure 4, even though I acknowledge how powerful it is. These are all very complicated items. So the Golden King's Judgment, which actually, let's just drag them up. This is the Golden King's Judgment. The Chalice, or the Grace, or whatever, the freaking cup looking thing, is the Golden King's Grace. And the head looking thing, like it looks almost like a shield or whatever, is the Golden King's Blessing. This thing. Just so y'all know, because I imagine people much like me don't have these item names memorized. So we'll talk about the Golden King's Blessing or Judgment first. This is the sword. Increases number of all owned inscriptions by 1. So this is basically old doubled Prince's box. Like if you remember the days where you could have Masterpiece on your Prince's box and it turned into a doubled Prince's box. This is that. Increases physical attack and magic attack by 100%. Attacking an enemy unleashes King's Blow, dealing damage according to the higher between physical and magic. Cooldown 15 seconds. So it's basically like Fulgent Dawn on overdrive. I think that's the best way to describe it. A Golden King's Grace, which is this Mother Hubbard right here. It is increases number of all inscriptions by 1, so much the same as the first one. Increases skill cooldown and speed, attack speed, and movement speed by 45%. Upon using a skill, regain 75% of that skill's cooldown and increases attack speed and movement speed by 45% for 10 seconds. Cooldown 15 seconds. So it's basically like Giga side stat gain. Not your main stat, which is your damage, but like cooldown speed and attack speed and stuff. It's basically a way to enhance those. And the Golden King's Blessing, which is our friend here, is the inscription thing again. Increases swap cooldown speed by 30%. Upon being hit, nullify damage and become invincible for 5 seconds. So kind of unique interest in a way. Swap cooldown is not on a lot of things, especially items, but this has it. So like it's very interesting in that regard. However, the by and large winner here, or actually I shouldn't say that. These two items in particular, this one and this one, if you're familiar with the Dark Skull fight and think you can beat them on your own without cheats, or not cheats, I guess, but cheese, this is your guy. This is Giga Fulgent Dawn. However, if you're unfamiliar with the fight and you're afraid of losing it, this guy's your friend because you get those iframes, as well as the swap cooldown, which, you know, is also quite nice. And like I said, rare to find on others. Also, sorry for bumping my mic there. This item I've never taken. It's not bad. I just find it to be worse than these two. So this is where we officially knock Fulgent Dawn out the top because, like, this is, like I said, Fulgent Dawn on overdrive. This goes like here. It's that good. It's, in fact, God, I mean, I'm not putting it above these two, but like, I think this is a good spot for it. I mean, it literally gives you Go-Getter, or not Go-Getter, doubled Prince's Box. The increase each inscription by 1 is insane. Like Mr. Bakanudo and I, when we made the custom items mod, we conceptualized an item like this, but we made it an Omen to make it a little more fair. Because like doubled Prince's Box was so overpowered, and obviously we're not even going to talk about clone. But like we were like, we could put this in the game, I guess, but we need to make it an Omen, and we also added the caveat that it increases the requirement for collection desire. The devs were like, dog, fuck it, man. Give him Giga collection desire value. No, put it on, give it. Oh yeah, also these are all treasure inscriptions, by the way. Which sounds bad, but it's actually very good based on treasure enhanced. Like I said, I don't want to talk about inscriptions too much, but just trust me, it's good. We're gonna give him fucking treasure. We're gonna give him Giga Collection Desire Value, and on top of it all, it's also Fulgent Dawn, but on steroids. So the devs were just they didn't care. They're like, fuck balance, bro. Anyways, we'll put that there, and frankly, I'll put this like I'll put it here. Nah, I'm gonna put it fucking here. They're like, these items are that good, and this one is like not as good, but it's still very good. I'll put it like here. I think that's a good spot for it. These are all incredible items. There's a reason I don't take treasure plus runs anymore. I find them to be boring because it's just that good. Like it's so good that it kind of makes me feel icky. So yeah, these are all incredible items. I'm glad to be done with them. Let's move on to greener pastures. Let's talk about Armor of Fear, which is a great item to talk about. It's a palette cleanser after we just talked about those, because this item got changed in 1.9 to be nutty. So Armor of Fear is it's the stun status item. So I'm going to spawn myself an Armor of Fear so I can accurately tell y'all what it does. Armor of Fear is Fortress Dizziness, which is unfortunate for it. However, don't hold it against it because it really doesn't matter. Increase physical attack and magic attack by 50%. That's the change, by the way, or one of the changes. Before, this didn't increase the damage, but now it does. And goddamn, thank you devs for doing this because it's beautiful. Creates a shockwave at the end of a stun duration, dealing fixed damage. The shockwave's damage is proportional to the damage dealt to the stunned enemy. So basically, what this is think of it as consistently powerful Doomsday. It's the same thing in a sense. However, it doesn't miss. Like it always hits because it's attached to stun. And also, you can choose when you stun your enemy. So like Fulgent Dawn, or I mean, Doomsday kind of weeps in a corner at the existence of this item. But Fortress being on this item is kind of weird. It's like, to me, it's reminiscent of Relic being attached to things where it makes no sense. But at the same time, it's like, this item just doesn't care. Because, like, it has dizziness on it, and everything else about this item is crazy. This was a good item even before the buff. But the other change this item got is there was, like, the shockwave at the end of the stun duration could only deal up to 9999. Which probably sounds fine. Like, it's like, why would that matter? What, you're going to deal, like, 1 billion damage with this? But the answer to that is yes, because of a number of reasons. Like, it's not hard to get Armor of Fear to deal more than that. So like the devs wisely took that damage cap and increased it. So now we can deal even more damage with our Armor of Fear, which is just inherently a more powerful item just altogether now. So Armor of Fear got giga buffed. So where does that leave it? I actually think, unlike all these other status items being right next to each other, this one's leagues above those. Especially now. It kind of always was, just because stun is leagues above all the other statuses. But like nowadays, Armor of Fear is up here with the kings. I think it's right here. Like, Armor of Fear is fantastic these days. So stun fans rejoice. Stun chads have always been on top, but now we're like so on top that it's kind of insane. Like, we are giga on top, you know? Stun chads rise up. God, there's so many good legendaries. They just keep coming. Let's talk about Hope Slasher, and we'll talk about Nether Mana Suppressor afterwards. I'll move it up. So Hope Slasher is the Courage legendary, the OG Courage legendary, I should say. This has been in the game forever. Hope Slasher, I don't even know why I'm spawning one in because I know what it does. I use it all the time. Its arms and courage increases physical attack by 60. Based on the physical damage inflicted on enemies, additionally increases physical attack by up to 60 for 5 seconds. So whenever you deal physical damage, it increases it further up to 60 for 5 seconds. So you can get 120 damage percent off of just your Hope Slasher. But if you have arms, that's an additional 45 damage percent. So this is like enormous physical damage scaling. There's really not too much to say about this item. It's very straightforward. It's very good. We're going to move it way up here. Man, look at Fulgent Dawn fall. He's fallen, dog. I'll put it here. So that's really all I have to say about Hope Slasher. It's very straightforward. There's not a ton to talk about, which is the same case for our buddy Nether Mana Suppressor here. Nether Mana Suppressor, and I won't even spawn it in because I know what it does. It's wisdom artifact, flat 60% damage gain in magic, and then whenever for every point of skill cooldown you have, or maybe not every point, but basically if you have enough skill cooldown, you get an additional 60%, which is not hard to do. So this can also give up to 120% plus the extra 45 with artifact, and then whatever amplification you're getting from wisdom. Also enormously powerful. Definitely right up there with Hope Slasher, although we'll do the meme because Orc exists. The Hope Slasher is better, and also Arms is a better inscription than Artifact, because the further you get into Arms, it gets better, whereas Artifact just kind of is eh. So I think that's fair to put it behind it even without the meme. Let's move on to an Infinite Bone, which is a very interesting item in general. I'm gonna have to spawn myself in both an Infinite Bone. I guess I'll just spawn in the Giga Infinite Bone that you get from Enhancing Bone, since they generally do the same things. And I did say I'm gonna treat them all as their most advanced forms. So normally, Infinite Bone is just skills create a 30% chance of resetting their cooldown when used. So you can, like, skills that have long cooldowns can be turned into 0 cooldown with Infinite Bone. However, when you evolve it into the Bone of Eternity Infinity, activating a Bone Inscription effect will now increase this item's chance of resetting skill cooldowns to 45% for 15 seconds. So 15% increase of having instant cooldown whenever you activate the Bone Inscription. It's a very cool item. I've always kind of been iffy on Infinite Bone. Like, everyone loves it, and I love it too. But, like, I don't value it as much as everyone else does, it appears. It is good, though. I do think it's like S tier. Oh, and the inscription is Bone and Mana Cycle, for the record. I do think it's S tier, but I don't think it's like near the back for me. Because it's like you can already get pretty good skill cooldown on every character with just your Arachna Shrine and like Mana Cycle. You don't need something like this really ever. It's really, really, really good on Gambler, and I guess it's good on like Gravedigger and Recruit and stuff like that. But on most characters, it's like overkill. I think I'm gonna put it I'll put it here. That seems like a good spot for old Infinite Bone. Still good, just not like super incredible. I'm even tempted to put it in A tier, but I'll put it in S tier. Also, let me drink a little bit of water here real quick because I'm getting parched and we still got a few things to go through. Okay, excuse me. Let's go to the next one, though. I did get rid of all my items so I can spawn in more, or have more room to spawn stuff in. This is Light Spirit Lu. We talked about him in episode 1, actually, when we talked about Dark Spirit Shade. Light Spirit Lu is Wisdom Fairy Tale. He is the legendary spirit. The only Nat legendary spirit, I should say. There are other legendary spirits. He is Wisdom. Oh, I already said that. Light Spirit Lu follows you and it calls... Oh, okay, so it's basically the same as if... There's nothing special on the text. He attacks every 18 seconds, dealing magic damage. The thing that makes Light Spirit Lu better than all the other spirits is his Wisdom inscription. He's the only one with it. Every other spirit has like a worthless inscription in one way or another, except for like Shade and Lu. They both have good inscriptions that you can use on Fairy Tail runs, but like every other one is just like, when are you ever going to use, like, are you going to run Fairy Tail like Frost 2 or whatever, Absolute Zero 2? No. So Lu is definitely a league above like some of these other spirits. I'm going to like put him like somewhere around here. I think this is a good spot for Lu next to Undyne. Like, he's good for sure. You're happy to have him on your spirit runs because you want that wisdom, and it's kind of hard to get otherwise. So Lu's good. He's not too much to talk about though, so let's move on to what's next. Mane of the Beast King, which is an item I love, so happy to talk about this item. Mane of the Beast King is Chase and Heritage. Spawn one in real quick. This item, enemies you dash into receive a mark. Against attacks made against the enemy, the marked enemy turns into a critical hit, dealing physical damage. The mark disappears after hit. It's kind of similar to Stigma Balls in that way, but you can mark more than one enemy and the mark disappears rather than staying attached to one enemy. And the mark crits. So this actually activates crit items, which is not super relevant, but it is cool. It's one of the only items in the game that can crit naturally without like the tibia. Very, very good. Because like I've been saying this whole time, chase runs are good. This one's a little harder to use on some chase runs because item damage doesn't activate it. It has to be skull damage or like dash attack damage or something. Like Pikeman uses this run item very well. Same with tackle dashing power skulls. They all use a Mane of the Beast King very, very easily. Whereas if you're playing like a regular dasher, you have to dash and then attack and then dash and then attack, which isn't as hard as it seems, at least on keyboard and mouse. I don't know about console, but like I can do this fairly easily, which makes me value Mane of the Beast King way more than maybe console players would if it is hard on console. But I don't know. I think this item's very good. I want to put it very high up in S tier. Maybe here. Like, I don't think it's like on this level of all these other items, but it is very, very good. I'm going to put it above the book. I'll put it behind these status items. That seems about right for me. They're good. Mane of the Beast King is good. It deserves its spot. Let's move on to the Miracle Grail, which is the Bleed status legendary. Which, if you've been watching me for long enough, you know how I feel about Bleed. But I don't really have those negative feelings towards Miracle Grail per se, because I think Miracle Grail is very good. This is Relic excessive bleeding, so that's the main problem I have with this item. Is it's like the #1 case of having Relic tacked onto something because it's holy symbolism. And it sucks because it's like, oh my god, dude, can you please take that shit off? I give it anything else. Why Relic, man? This does nothing for the Miracle Grail. When are you ever gonna build a Bleed Relic run? Like, these inscriptions make no sense together. It sucks. But this item, its text is amplify damage by 400% the 3rd time Bleed is applied. So basically, every time you apply Bleed 3 times, it causes like a Giga Bleed, like a humongous burst of damage from Bleed. Where did I put Miracle Grail? Oh, here it is. So this item's interesting. I would say, like earlier, I talked a lot about how Glacier Breaker is like, kind of like, Absolute Zero runs kind of beg for it. I would say Bleed runs are on their knees, like pleading like Oliver Twist for some fucking more soup or whatever. Like, this is Bleed runs just are dying for this item, because without this item, Bleed kind of falls short damage wise. Which sucks for Bleed, because like I said, like there are items that Bleed likes, like Terrible Blade Shards, wherever those are at now. They're somewhere around here. There they are. This is like an enabler for Bleed runs. There's a few things, but they're all unique and above. And like this is one of them, the Curse Bloodfest, which we're not going to talk about too much, but like Bleed is super dependent on like getting lucky. And this is just another symptom of that. But if you do get Miracle Grail, it makes your Bleed run a lot stronger. So that's like a plus, worth acknowledging. I honestly think it's exactly perfectly placed here. I think it's as powerful as these other status legendaries. Maybe worse. It's definitely worse than all of them, because it has that stupid ass relic attached to it, which just sucks for it. But like, in fact, I think this looks a lot like because the old item tier list I did, I think this might be almost exactly how it looked. I think I had all the statuses, legendaries grouped together, and then Armor Fear was like way above them. I think that's how that one went too. And not much has changed. I guess someone would have to go look and see, but I think that's how it went. Anyways, good item, just sucks that it has like the weird quirks that it does. We'll talk about one of my favorite items in the game, Multidimensional Prism. This is Manatech and Mutant. This item is a swap-based item that, when swapping, summons a multidimensional prism, cooldown 10 seconds. Very descriptive. Like, if I was new to this game, it's like, oh, multidimensional prism, I wonder what that does. Swapping summons a multidimensional prism. Well, that's... what? It's like using the word you're trying to look up the definition to. Like, it's like, how do you define the word car? A car is a car. Oh, I see. But like, I'm joking because it further explains. I'm just being an idiot. I shouldn't be being an idiot. I'm already like recording late again. The prism sprays lasers near and okay, excuse me. The prism sprays lasers nearby and explodes, dealing physical damage and leaving 3 Manatech components. So basically what this does is it summons a bunch of laser beams that fire off in all different directions, and then they explode and give you Manatech components, which Manatech components like give you skill cooldown, like a 0.5 seconds of skill cooldown or something like that. It's very good. Multidimensional prism is like in the same vein of another item we're about to talk about, and I'm actually going to boost it up because we're already talking about multidimensional prism. But like when you swap it summons something, think of it like offensive wheel, I guess, in that sense. And obviously I'm going to love items like that, but like it is a powerful item for sure. It got buffed, I think, in 1.7.3, along with a bunch of other things. For a long time, this item sucked, sadly, because the cooldown was just too fucking much. But they lowered its damage and made its cooldown a lot lower, which made it so much better and more consistent. And now I can use my love again. Multidimensional Prism is just wonderful. I'd love it so much. I'm going to put it, like, here. No. This is fine for it. I don't know how I placed it exactly perfectly, but I think that's actually good for it. It's very good. Which we can now talk about the magic counterpart to it. These are like kind of, they're not really sister items, but they kind of are, I guess, in a sense. This is Raven's Monarch Feather, which has been in the game for a very long time. It is Heritage and Mutant. And it's another swap-based item that when you swap, creates a giant vortex that pulls enemies towards its center and deals magic damage. So it's a way to pull enemies in towards you and get them close so you can be able to deal with them easier. And it deals good magic damage. Much in the same way I love Raven's or Multidimensional Prism, I love Raven's Monarch Feather. I think these are perfectly placed right next to each other. I guess in the sense of their inscriptions, I think Manatech is overall more valuable. But I think the overall effect of Raven's Monarch Feather is stronger than Multidimensional Prism's effect, so I favor it a little more. But like both of these items are excellent, and I love them both just a ton. They're so good. So, yep, that's how I feel about that. Very quick tiering there, but they are great, and I think I got my sentiments out perfectly. So let's talk about another one of the goats. This was added in the DLC. This is Olive Tree Cudgel, which, holy shit, there's so much to talk about with this item. Let me spawn one in. This is a very, very dense item. So Olive Tree Cudgel is courage and mystery. 4 feats are given to you, and they grant you a beneficial effects upon completion. So there's a lot to talk about here. The 4 feats are different things you do throughout the course of a run, and when you do them, this item gets extra additional stuff. So increases max HP by 80 upon losing 500 HP. So lose 500 HP over the course of a run. It doesn't even matter. Like, the game calculates this as you go every run. It doesn't matter if you see Olive Tree Cudgel in the last shop. As long as you did these things, it will activate. So increase max HP by 80 upon losing 50 HP. After defeating 100 enemies, using skills causes earthquakes that deal physical damage. Increases physical attack by 100% upon slaying 3 bosses. And decreases damage taken by 20 and amplifies damage dealt by 20 upon surviving death 1 time or more. So any level of death defiance, be it last resistance, dark ability, losing your reassembly, the death defiance on Voodoo Doll, or the Sun and Moon Omens, or the freaking doubled up Shard of Darkness, anything like that. If you die and then are revived, that feat activates. So what is there to say about Olive Tree Cudgel? It is right up here for one. The 3rd best item in the game. Some would even argue the 2nd. Some would even argue the 1st, but I really think it's the 3rd. And nothing's gonna even be better than that. So we're now like, this is at the top 3. Here they are. This item is like easily the strongest ability spam item for that ability spam item archetype. You take this on magic runs and physical runs, for one, because mixed damage runs are powerful, but the amplification it gives you, that it says in the 4th feat, also applies to magic damage. So it's just universal 20% amplification. I don't know. There's so much I can say. The earthquake that pops out when you spam it with abilities is very powerful. It deals a lot of damage. The 80 HP is excellent. The 100% increase is also excellent. Like, I don't know. This item's so dense. It's doing so much for you. It has incredible, or it has courage and mystery. Courage is excellent. Mystery is fine. But like, there's just so much going on with this item. This is, in my opinion, the definitional power creep item. Like, when I think of power creep in Skul the Hero Slayer, all of Tree Cudgel pops into my head. It's very good. I kind of wish there was a magic equivalent, but at the same time, I also don't. Because do we really need 2 olive tree cudgels? Not really. So it's fine that we don't have one. In fact, I'm putting that genie back in the bottle. Ignore I said that if Southpaw ever somehow sees this. Anyways, let's talk about Pot of Greed, which is a very interesting and cool item that has been a fan favorite for a very long time. I'm actually about to activate my Pot of Greed as I spawn it. What'd I get? I got a fucking Veiled Mask. That's a sign. We have to talk about Veiled Mask next. Alright. That's a very interesting sign there. So Pot of Greed is a treasure antique item that each legendary skull quintessence and item increases physical attack and magic attack by 30%. So any legendary thing that you own increases your magic attack by 30 or your physical and magic by 30 up to 120. Reaching the maximum limit for this effect grants you 1 random legendary item. So once you max this out, you get a free legendary. And that is very, very, very good. Like, even if the legendary sucks, it's free money. Like, mine's Veiled Mask, and I ain't gonna get into it super hard here, but let's just say, not a fan. And, like, I don't know, it gives you so much damage. The inscriptions are good. I don't know, like, it's like the perfect item. Also, I'm running around Skul again, my bad. It's the perfect item. Is it one of the best items? Like, sure, it's up here among the kings, but like, it's not like up here among the kings. I'll go ahead and place it where I think it belongs, probably like here. But look at that. I mean, that's good. It's up here, man. When you see a Pot of Greed, you're extremely happy. Like, and also it's a Yu-Gi-Oh reference, so I guess there's a lot of references in this game, but this is one of the most blatant ones. Not that I've ever played Yu-Gi-Oh, but like, I don't know, Yu-Gi-Oh fans fucking having a good one, you know, popping off because there's a direct reference to it in this game. But yeah, it's good. Pot of Greed is excellent. There's really not much negative to say about it. I gotta pick up the pace here a little bit, so let's get going here. A Veiled Mask here is the Strike legendary. We got one when we spawned our Pot of Greed, so I don't even have to spawn it in. This is Dual Strike, which is unfortunate for Dual, because this is, for a long time, was the only Dual legendary in the game as well. Decreases crit rate by 30% and increases crit damage by 70%. Man. Like, on paper, that sounds phenomenal, because Strike already is about crit damage, and it's like, oh, I only have to make up 30% crit rate? That's nothing. You'd think so, but it's actually quite a problem. Veiled Mask is like the most trap item in the entire game. Like, it is absolutely trapping you. It's tricking you into making you think that it's going to just send you to the stratosphere, and sometimes it does. If you can get a run where Veiled Mask is like where you can get the crit rate, something like if you have like Thief Blacksteel Dagger and a bunch of other crit increasing items, like you can even have like this, for instance, and go from there. Sometimes this works out for you, but most of the time it's just a humongous burden on your run, and it can lead to you being killed. I think Veiled Meme is maybe the worst legendary in the entire game. I don't think it's D tier. I think it's C tier. What I'm thinking is it worse than also, I'm gonna move this up to B. Low B, but still B. Is it worse than Pain and Despair? And I think it is. Pain and Despair is like certainly like it's like, at least this sometimes does something for you, but most of the time it hurts you, whereas this doesn't hurt you. It just really doesn't do much at all. So yeah, I think I'm going to put it down here. Let's put it like here. Yeah, I'll put it there. I don't know. It's just unfortunate. It's genuinely like, one of those items that I don't even know if the devs could fix it, because like I understand what they were going for. Like it's an item that it kind of has to give you a pretty big downside because of what it does for you. I guess the way they wanted to get around it is they added stuff like that one dark ability that like lowers your crit damage but increases your crit rate to like 50. It's terrible. Don't ever be tricked by that. Don't see that dark or that curse and be like, oh, I can now take Veiled Mask because of that. Though I don't want to get super into it. Just trust me. I have 2,600 hours. Come on, trust me. Like, I don't want to talk about dark abilities here or curses, maybe for another time. But, like, that is a scenario Veiled Mask users will be like, oh, what if I did that and did that? Just don't do it, okay? Trust me. But, yeah, let's move on. Veiled Mask is bad. That's all she wrote, baby. Let's talk about Sylphid Wings. This is a heritage soar item that increases midair dash distance and cooldown speed by 50%. 10 midair dashes releases blades of wind that deal magic damage. So this is like basically a chase item that doesn't have chase, much like our friend the Forbidden Sword right here. It's a secret chase item. It just doesn't know it. It's a soar item in the devs' minds. And it is a unique effect that it used to give you 3 jumps back in the olden days, but it sucked back then, or at least it was like very, very niche. Now it's actually pretty good. I think this item's good. It's especially good on gargoyle runs where you can do the dash spam stuff. It's also good on pikeman runs. It's good on any kind of chase run. So if you're building chase and you're doing like mixed damage or even just magic damage chase, this item is going to be your friend because it just allows you to dash more. It also increases your iframes, which is nice. Because the more you're dashing, the more invincible you are. I value Sylphid Wings quite a bit. I don't think it's up here with the Kings at all. I think it's further down here. I would probably place it around like here. I think that's a good spot for it. It's good, but it's like if you're not doing chase shenanigans, you don't really want this. Even Soar doesn't really want this because what does Soar do with Sylphid Wings? I don't know. I guess you spend more time in the air, so I guess that's good. But I don't know. It's a chase item to me. Though I guess there are uses for it with Soar. Let's actually move some of this up. I want to talk about the Adventure Legendaries last before we get into the Omens, which only got 3 more legendary items. So, this is the ring, the one true ring. This is a treasure mutant legendary. I do not know why it has mutant. Maybe it's like a Lord of the Ring reference, but I wouldn't know. Maybe it's like Gollum, I guess. It's probably Gollum, which is funny. Like, I guess they couldn't think of anything else to put on it, which is good for it because mutant's a good inscription. Increases physical and magic attack by 40%, increases attack speed by 30, crit rate by 10, skill cooldown by 50%, and max HP by 50. So this is like the dense damage scaling item across the board. It gives you a little bit of everything, and we love it for that. The ring is good. You pretty much take it whenever you see it, and you have like an extra item slot you don't know what to do with. It's good on crit item runs. It's good on I mean, it is good. I don't know about it being good on any other archetype, but like it's just one of those items that you're happy to see when you see it because like it's like, oh, that's a little bit of everything, and what's wrong with a little bit of everything? I think this item's like an S tier, probably like it's like around here. I'd say it's like here. Maybe it's just a little too disrespectful. I'll put it here. I think that's fair. It's not like on the level of like Pot of Greed, but it is good, so can't really complain. When you see it, you're happy. Let's talk about Voodoo Doll. I'm going to be talking about this. This one's a little weird to use my usual methodology on, I guess. I'll talk about them both. I guess I'll be more rating this as Unbroken Voodoo Doll than anything. Because the Torn Voodoo Doll, which is like if this breaks, you get that. It's just stats. It's like Artifact Revenge and you get 60 damage %. But the reason you carry this item is if you're scared of dying. Because this item gives you basically a revive. It heals you for 40 HP if you take lethal damage and then breaks and turns into the other item. So I already mentioned all that there is to mention about this. It is good. I actually don't even think it breaks S tier though. Honestly, I think it's probably at the top of A, because for me, and if you're new, for the record, I will say this: if you're learning the game and you're still new, you will like this item a lot. But if you're experienced at the game, which is my perspective, it does have revenge on it, but I don't know. I break it on purpose, basically. If I'm building a revenge run, I just grab this and I break it on purpose and get the stats. So, not much to say about it. Let's talk about Indomitable Will. This is, and that's what it's called, right? I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, but I need to double check. I'm just trying to rush through this a little bit because I'm running out of time. Yeah, Indomitable Will. This is the new dual legendary. Thank the Lord that we aren't stuck with Veiled Meme anymore. Dual fans rejoice. This is another dense item. Dual mystery. Increases physical and magic attack by 50. Fire blazes from your body. The fire damages the enemy that comes into contact with it according to the higher attack between physical and magic. Oh my god, this is a fucking paragraph. The fire blazes again after 3 seconds. If the fire damages the same enemy 5 times, you and the enemy are engulfed by pillars of fire, damaging nearby enemies according to the higher blah blah blah. It's the higher between magic and physical. So basically, you have fire come out of you, you hit an enemy, and if you hit the same enemy with the fire 3 times, then like it turns into a pillar of fire that deals a bunch of damage. It basically works super well against bosses and not much against anything else. This item is kind of weird. It's kind of in like a weird state where, like, it's not bad, but it's not incredible. It just kind of exists, which is fine. It's, I don't know. I don't think it breaks S tier. I'll just put it right behind Voodoo. And no, I'll put it ahead of Voodoo. I think it's better than Voodoo, but it's not too much better. It just kind of exists, I guess, which is fine for it. At least dual users who are building dual runs now have a nice legendary. Like, it's good on dual runs, I'll say that much. Let's talk about the adventurer legendaries now. You almost never see these things. This is the Cleric's Chosen Bible. Let me grab one so I can read it to y'all. This is Relic and Execute, which this one is fine with Relic, I guess, but like I said, Relic runs are like, when you build Relic, you don't build around your damage percent, you build around your max HP. So anything that has Relic on it, it just kind of separates it from its other inscription. It's like Relic runs are truly, truly unique in the way you build them. But the Execute's good, I guess. I kind of wish it was Revenge, though. Recover 1 HP upon defeating 10 enemies. Upon recovering HP, gain wings that last for 10 seconds. Physical and magic increases by 80, and move speed increases by 50 for the duration of the wings, and random nearby enemies are punished every 2 seconds. The punishment inflicts the higher between physical or magic. The punishment is basically just like a random projectile that falls out of the air. This is incredibly powerful in rooms, but against bosses it falls off. It's also one of those items that doesn't work against bosses, which does deduct points, but you can just take like Revenge and it still is fine. Like, at least you can activate it fairly easily against bosses. I don't know. This is a good item in rooms, but it definitely falls off against bosses. It's definitely A tier. It's even high A tier. I'm willing to put it like up here with this. In fact, I think it's probably better than no, Indomitable is probably better. But it's just not great. It's like one of those adventure items you like, but is it like super, super good? The answer is no. Let's talk about the Hero's Chosen Circlet. I always say Circlet because I'm stupid. This is Courage and Antique, I believe. It is when current HP, it is Antique and Courage. When current HP reaches 15% or less, enter an Indomitable state for 7 seconds, cooldown 60. While in Indomitable state, you will become invincible, and physical is amplified by 50 and move speed is increased by 100. When Indomitable state ends, recover HP equal to the amount of physical damage dealt to enemies while in Indomitable state. Recover up to 30%. So it heals you and prevents you from dying. The problem with this item, and I've run into this before, I don't know if this is still a problem with it. It was never in patch notes if they fixed it. But if you take lethal damage at the same time this effect activates, it eats your reassembly heal and replaces it with the heal from this item. And takes your reassembly, which I think I said. And no, I said it eats your reassembly heal. It takes your reassembly and eats your reassembly heal, and then you heal for less. You heal for the only up to 30% of the damage dealt, and you are in a worse position than you were before. So basically, if you're going to use this item, you need a lot of max HP to make up for that. But if you can do that, then it's actually a pretty good item. And I've taken it many times and had no issues with it. But my past experiences with this item kind of soured me on it. I think it's S tier, but I'm going to put it in low S tier just because I have I'm petty. I have a petty disagreement with this item. I'm going to put it here. Yeah, you belong there, buddy. Welcome to S tier, but it's it's tenuous at best. Anyways, now we can talk about another goated item. This is the Chosen Huntress's Arrow, which is I'm just going to type the word chosen so I can easily access these items. The Chosen Huntress's Arrow is heirloom and strike, increases crit rate by 25%. Physical and magic increases by 2% for every 1% of the critical rate, up to 400 increase. So you're never going to reach that 400 number, but this thing is still going to give you enormous damage percent and also enormous crit rate. It's like the perfect item for both strike and crit item runs. I know I said we're done ranking some of the best items in the game, but frankly, here's number 4. This is the 4th best item in the game. It's so enormously powerful. The sad reality is you never see these items because they're so rare. Like, it's so hard to get a legendary item from a adventurer. But whenever you see this one in particular, you're jumping for joy. We can't say the same for all of these items, but for those, you certainly can. This is the Chosen Mage's badge, I think. Yes, the Chosen Mage's badge. This is the mage item, if you can believe it. It's artifact and mana cycle, 2 incredible inscriptions. 3 fireballs spin around the player, dealing magic damage. When using the skill, each fireball explodes and deals magic damage, and the rotation speed of the fireballs increases for 3 seconds. So it's an ability spam item, and goddamn is it phenomenal. I'm gonna go ahead and place it like right here. No. Yeah, I think that's fair for it. No, get out of the way. It's in the top row, though for how long, who knows. It's phenomenal. Like, what can be said? It's probably gonna stay in the top row now that I really think about it. Ooh, maybe not though. I actually no, it won't. It won't. But it's close, man. This item is super, super, super good. Like, it sucks because you never see it. Like, I've done so many ability spam item runs, and I still never see it. Because just the adventurers are stingy and they don't want to drop their good shit. But whenever you see this item, you're super, super happy because its inscriptions are really good. The effect is good. It's basically like a Giga version of the Mage's Necklace. Although they do very different things also at the same time. Either way, point being is like, it's good. You're happy to see it. I'm on a super time crunch, so I am hurrying. This is the Chosen Thief's Swords? What the fuck? Twin Swords. The Chosen Thief's Twin Swords. In my opinion, maybe the worst adventurer legendary. It's Hidden Blade Chase. Both inscriptions that really don't benefit this thing whatsoever. Upon dealing the first attack to an enemy, attack speed is sped up by 100% and the enemy's sense of time is slowed for 5 seconds. When the enemy's sense of time returns to normal, their true damage is proportional to the amount of damage they received while the time was slowed. So think of it as both Doomsday and Armor of Fear. The problem with this item is it really doesn't work against bosses. It does work against bosses once, but it only works once per hitting the enemy. And it has like, what's the cooldown on it? I guess it's one of those items that I guess, because it doesn't have a cooldown, which is interesting. But like, it works well in rooms, but against bosses, it just doesn't really work at all because you can only apply it one time. I wish there was a cooldown to reapply this against bosses, and then this item would skyrocket in viability. Maybe give it better inscriptions, because what the hell does Chase do for this? Rapidity would be a lot better. Sadly for this item, I think it's like low A, maybe even high B. I'll put it in low A for now because I just don't want to disrespect the adventurers like that. I'll put it like... I'll put it here. Just sad for this item that it's not quite as good as you would like it to be. Let's talk about the Warrior's Chosen Armor? Yeah. The Chosen Warrior's Armor, I mean, excuse me. This is Fortress Antique. There's that dreaded fortress, though this is actually a good fortress item, and it's probably like the true enabling item for fortress runs. Gain 20 shields upon entering the map, and gain 40 shields upon entering a boss map. So they reversed their usual stuff where it's like, this is worse against bosses. This time they were like, this one's better against bosses, which I wish they'd do more often. Up to 100. So really, really, really dense shield. And I don't know. Like, my problem with this item is I don't like Fortress. I don't like shield run. Like, because it doesn't scale your damage. So, like, I just feel like the value is, like, I don't know. Like, sure, you don't die as easily, but you're spending an item slot, which are very valuable, on shield generation with no damage scaling. So, for me, it's just a matter of, like, I need to be Fortress pilled before I like this item. And also, they probably need to add some items that scale damage based on your shield or something. Either way, I think this is definitely B tier. I know I said I don't want to disrespect the adventurers, but I kind of have to here. If you're a new player, you're going to get value out of this. This is from a old head's perspective. But for me, just it ain't it. All right. Holy crap. We're finally on to the omens. Let's get into it because I really have to hurry. This is the Brawl Omen. This is Brawl Omen, if you can believe that. Let me spawn it in so I can tell y'all what it does. Let's see. Where the heck is Brawl again? Or Omen, there it is. Brawl Omen, right here, the revelation of the red star. Create a red star zone upon attacking an enemy, cooldown 10 seconds. The red star zone draws in nearby enemies and disappears after 2 seconds with the Light of Collapse. The Light of Collapse deals damage based on the higher attack between physical and magic and deals 50% more damage per enemy inside the red star zone, up to 300%. So good in rooms, bad against bosses. Definitely a death sentence for items like this. And in general, this item isn't particularly good across the board. I don't hate it, but I don't like it. I like that it has Brawl. A lot of the way I analyze omens is based on the inscription they have. And sadly, this just doesn't have it doesn't have the juice, even though it has a good inscription. I think it's a B tier omen for sure, and certainly is like I don't know, around like here. In fact, it's probably lower because it has omen. I'll put it here. Not terrible, but not great. Let's move on to the Mad Harpoon. Mad Harpoon is the dual omen. Where the hell are you? Okay, no, that's the symbol of death, which I guess I'll move up and talk about next since I already spawned it in. This is dual omen dual, as I said. Leaves a mark upon attacking an enemy to deal 45% more damage to the enemies with the mark. The mark can only be left on one enemy. Marks cannot be left on any other enemy until the enemy with the mark dies. So, like a lot of the way dual items work is you place it against one enemy and you have to kill that enemy. It's really good against bosses. It's fine in rooms. This is actually a good omen. It's not like a great omen, but like if you're doing a dual run, you can happily take this. 45% amplification is good as fuck. I think this is like a mid A tier item, maybe even a little higher than mid. I'm kind of going a little fast with these placements, so like, I don't know, I'm going to place that here. I think that's, I'll place it below this because courage is just like good. But yeah, it's good. Certainly an omen I take if I'm doing dual, but otherwise I don't. Now let's talk about a great omen that only got better. This is, what's it called? Irresistible Suggestion, yes. This is Courage Omen, and it increases your physical attack by 90%, effects doubled upon surviving death one time or more. So, basically, if you use Death Defiance in any of the ways that I mentioned with Olive Tree Cudgel, you can make this 180 damage percent in physical. Before 1.9, so this is not applicable to console players as of this video's existence. It only worked with your Elasters or your reassembly. Once you lost reassembly, it was 180, but now it works with any Death Defiance, which shot this item from like a high A tier to low S tier to high S tier. This is easily one of the strongest courage scaling items in the game. I'm going to put it right here. And I'm also going to grab the Howling Egg, which is the wisdom version, and put it behind it directly because of the classic memes we've been talking about this whole time with Existence of Orc. But both of these are incredible. This is the magic variant. Just imagine all I said with magic damage. Both are excellent. Let's talk about, here we are. This is the Mutant Omen. a very unique item in Skul the Hero Slayer, to be certain. Definitely sets the bar for Omens, without a doubt. Where the heck is it? Idol of the Forgotten. Mutant Omen. Upon swapping, Omen's aura covers the surrounding area, dealing damage according to the higher between physical and magic. Omen's aura is considered a swap skill. What does that mean? That means that whenever you swap, this casts like a shadow on the field that deals damage to the enemies. And it encompasses a huge area. Where did I put it? No, I put it here. It encompasses a huge area. And since most items are considered item damage, which means that they cannot proc other items, like crit items, for instance, this is considered a swap skill. So it's skull damage, which means this item can crit. So basically what you do with this item is if you're on a crit item run, which is, let's be real, a common strategy for winning, you have like your Crown of Thorns and your freaking Invisible Knife. You pick up this and then you gain like an aura that just covers the entire field, which can also crit. So you're pretty much enhancing your ability to apply crits even more. This is the item that knocks the Mage's Chosen badge out of the top items. I'm going to put that right here. This is an Omen that is this good, by the way. Like, this Omen sets the fucking bar. However, it's not the only Omen that sets the bar. Let's talk about it now. This is the Cup of Fate, the Masterpiece Omen, which I said earlier in this tier list that I can think of an item that can rival Unknown Darkness for damage scaling. That's this one. Though it is worse, but it's not as dangerous as Unknown Darkness, which makes it, in my opinion, a little better. I'm going to go ahead and spawn in a Cup of Fate here. Where the heck is it? I'm blind. Unironically, where the heck is it? It is not here. I'm not even joking. It's not in the Omen section. Bach! Hello, Bach! What are you doing? I'm gonna spawn it in. A Cup of Fate. This is Masterpiece Omen. Physical attack increases by 60% for each Masterpiece inscription in possession. Physical attack increases by 50% each time an item with the Masterpiece inscription is destroyed, up to 500. So this can give you like total, like over 700 damage percent if you actually hold on to all your Masterpiece inscriptions and fulfill all the conditions. In fact, actually that is better than the Unknown Darkness, which is very interesting. It's just less consistently better. There's a lot I could say about this item, and I wish I had the time to. There's like shenanigans you can do in shops where you can get multiple breaks on Masterpiece items if you evolve the Masterpiece item in the shop. It doesn't work in rooms, but it works in shops. It is not hard to get the max value out of this if you get it early enough. Basically, whenever you see an early game Cup of Longing, you take it and you build a Masterpiece run, because I posted one on my channel not that long ago. Cup of Fate runs just truly do pop off unlike any other. This is definitely one of the best Omens in the game. It's also one of the best items in the game. I think I'm going to put it like, I'm going to put it here. It's excellent. It still is an Omen, so it carries that aura around it, the menacing aura. But like, that's probably the last S tier Omen, I think. Like, Omens are very scary. So like, a lot of them are going to be low rated. No, there's one more S tier Omen. A lot of them are going to be lower rated. No, there's 2 more S tier Omens. Okay, you know what? Omens are freaking good. Also, let's talk about the Misfortune Omen since I spawned one in. But trying to pick up the pace here a little bit, but like, just suffice it to say that Cup of Fate is extremely powerful, and it's like the defining Masterpiece item. If you find it, go Masterpiece, especially if it's early game. All right, let's talk about the Symbol of Death. Yeah, Symbol of Death. This is the Misfortune Omen. It's a crit item. When a critical hit lands, an arrow of death appears around the enemy. Upon reaching 5 arrows of death, all arrows are fired at the enemy. Arrows of death deal damage according to the higher between physical and magic. I love these effects that deal the higher between physical and magic because it ensures you can take on any run. This is like a crit item that is very powerful, but you need to apply multiple instances of a debuff before it deals its damage. But the damage it deals is good, and as long as you can crit fairly often on your run, this essentially activates as often as any other crit item can. And whenever you get runs like that, this item truly does pop off. This is one of the other S tier Omens. There's one more after this. This is a very good one. I think I can probably safely put it like I think I would put it here and feel happy with that. It's very good. It just needs a little bit of support, but that's not a bad thing. Crit items are easy to support. Now we'll talk about one of the more interesting omens. This is the fairy tale omen. It gives you a little critter buddy. Let me go back to omens because I'm sure this one will be there. This is Desert, wherever the hell he may be. God, I wish I could find him faster because I'm on a time crunch. There he is. This is the fairy tale omen, as I said. Desert, the omen elemental, follows you around casting nightmare. It's basically the same stuff all the other ones do. Damage dealt to enemies as an elemental is amplified by 35%. That's the important part. He makes your elementals a lot stronger, including Oberon. He's definitely one of the stronger fairies. Even though he has omen attached to him, it doesn't really affect him that much. Where did I put him? Oh, he's here. Okay. I need to stop doing that. He's definitely S tier. I would say he's like... I'm going to put him among Light Spirit Lu. I'll actually put him ahead of Lu. Even though I am scared of Omen. I think this still justifies being above Lu because of the amplification. It is nice. Alright, let's talk about the Strike Omen. And also I should say this. If you have Oberon enhanced, like Fairy Tale Plus, this actually changes your Oberon. It turns him into a completely different in-game character. So like you enhance the Oberon normally and he turns white. If you have Desert, he turns black. It's cool. He's a very well-designed omen. This is the Strike Omen. Where are you? A Decadent Sword. Despite being a sword, doesn't have arms on it. It's Strike Omen. Used to create a corruption zone that lasts for 10 seconds, cooldown 20. So basically 10-second cooldown when you think about it. All attacks on enemies within the corrupted zone land as critical hits. The problem with this item is the corruption zone is tiny. So you really have to like trap the enemy in your zone. It works better against bosses than anyone else. In rooms, it's pretty useless. But if you're playing a strike run, all of your hits being critical is huge. It's hyper specific to strike runs. I think this is like a maybe low A tier omen. Because it still is omen, which makes it dangerous. I think I could probably safely put it like... I think it could go like here. That's fine, actually. Right next to a strike item. Just to compare them. Because like, this is good. This doesn't have omen attached to it. Actually, I'll put it above it. I think it's a little better. But yeah, this is a good item. Omen just makes things scary, but otherwise it's good. This is the Artifact Omen. Artifact Omen is what's it called? Scepter of Whispers. Used to create a corruption. No, that's not right. Thorns of Omens attack a nearby enemy every 6 seconds, dealing damage according to the higher between. Wow, is that real? I don't think that's real actually. I think it deals magic damage. I remember people in my audience talking about this. It's like misworded. This deals magic damage always. It's when you think about omens like this, you have to think about the inscription they're attached to. Is Artifact 6 good? And the answer is no. It's sadly not, because those meteors miss hella often. Now, the effect itself on the Artifact Omen is actually not bad at all. It deals decent damage, and it never misses. But the cooldown's pretty high, and it's like, I don't know. Like I'm going to talk about the Arms Omen after this, I guess. I'll move it up. The Arms Omen is a lot better than this Omen, just because of the inscription it's attached to. Even though the effect of this Omen, like the spikes, are more consistent than the Arms Omen. So I'm going to put this in high B tier. I think this is a fine spot for it. No, this will do. No, this will do. That's good enough for the Artifact Omen. Let's move on to the Arms Omen. This is Arms... I keep saying that. The Arms Omen is self-explanatory. I have to restart here to get rid of my items so I have more room. Sword of Chaos. This is Thorns of Omen surge from the ground during a basic attack, dealing damage according to the higher between... it's physical, so that's a lie. Cooldown 4 seconds. So basically what this acts like is like... It's basically the arms effect on an item, but like... Unlike the arms effect, for some reason they decided to make this the projectile that spawns from this. It appears like 2 inches in front of your character, which in my experience can lead this item to miss its attacks fairly often. Like I said, the Artifact Omen never misses with its thorns, whereas this attack does sometimes, which makes it annoying to use. The good things about the arm omen is it does deal good damage, and arms is a good inscription, unlike artifact. Well, artifact is a good inscription, but only artifact 2. Artifact 6 is bad, arms 6 is excellent. So you can conceivably take this on an arms run and enjoy it. I think this is definitely an A tier item, probably more in the middle. I think this is probably fine for it, honestly. It's not incredible, but it's not one of the worst omens. You can do a lot worse. Now, here's one of the items I wish I had more time to talk about, because I have so much to say about Branches of Destruction. Because people despise this item, and I don't know, people are just misguided. Branches of Destruction is the execute omen. This item is Branches of Destruction grow to deal damage to enemies once the Branches of Destruction are fully grown. Use the skill to have them reach out and deal damage to nearby enemies based on the higher between physic and magical. Branches of Destruction deal 50% more damage to enemies with 30% HP or less in adventures. Okay, it's one of those where it's worse against adventurers and bosses. Ugh. This item is so misunderstood because people take it in the early game and see like it doing nothing, or even the mid game, and they're like, this thing sucks, and then they throw it away and never think of it again. But the thing about this item is, for it to activate, you need to deal 10,000 damage to the enemy, and then it activates, which sounds like a lot. It's not that much, especially by the end game. On the right build especially, this item is proccing constantly. I like to say this is a pseudo ability spam item on the right build because it can activate that often, and the damage it deals is enormous. And it rarely misses too. Branch of Destruction is very good. But I'm going to be non-biased here. I'm going to say it's a B tier omen, the top B tier omen. I could even put it in low A, but I'm going to put it at the top of B. Even though I like this item, I do see its flaws. I just wish people, like most people would put it like down here, but it is absolutely not. Now let's talk about a bad omen, like a actually just bad omen. This is the, what is this even called? Coin of Extinction, the mana cycle omen, enables the player to enter the ominous and sign of disaster states. The state changes each time the skill is used. Damage dealt to the enemy while in ominous state is amplified by 40. Skill cooldown speed in sign of disaster increases by 130. So those are good stat gains. What's this item's issue? This item's issue is it activates every single time you cast a skill, which means you're basically randomly switching between the states. You never actually get to make use of one of the states. If you want your damage amplified, too bad. The next time you cast a skill, you're into the other state, and vice versa. So, like, you have no control, really, over which state you're in, which makes this extremely difficult to use and really just worthless. The only way you can really make this good, in quotation marks, even though it's not, is if you dupe this item with the slime, and then you, like, make sure the states are always opposite of each other, and then you gain those stats forever. Or you can make them synchronize and you get double the stat gains, but I would prefer to get the permanent stat boosts. But like either way, it's not a good omen. This is definitely a C tier omen. I would even put it like maybe at the back. Let's put it like here. 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 I don't like this omen. I would like it if they maybe did it like every 10 uses of a skill or something, just something along those lines where you can actually use the item effect. We're almost done, thank God. This is the Bone Omen, 13th Bone, which also has an evolution, which I will actually be, I guess, ranking it on. This is another one that makes my rule kind of weird, but I'm still going to hold by the rule. The 13th Bone is physical attack and magic attack increases by 110 for each omen inscription in possession. So this is an omen that encourages you to stack your omens, which is terrifying, but also with this item in particular is quite powerful. After activating a bone inscription effect, this is the Bone of Eternity omen. Attacking an enemy unleashes Omen's Curse, which deals damage according to the higher attack between physical and magic. The damage from the Omen's Curse increases by 13% for each Omen inscription in possession. So the enhanced Bone Omen encourages you to take even more Omen inscriptions. Sorry, my brain's mush because I'm like rushing through this. It's a little stressful, but I'll be done with it in a second. It's my fault for not finish or not. This is basically all because I didn't record earlier yesterday. I'm a bozo. But this is the other item I think that could belong in the top row. As much as I'm scared of omens and don't take them very often, which means I don't use this item very often, like I've had runs where I like giga scale my omens, and this can lead to like even higher damage than like this or this. Like you can truly get like insane damage scaling from the 13th bone. So for me, I think I have to respect that and acknowledge the strength. I'm gonna put that right here. No, I'll put it here. I think that's a good spot for it. It sadly knocks out Grace of Leonia from the top row, but that's acceptable. And that is absolutely the last top row item we're adding. So, and also I lied. There's another S tier omen. It's this one. There's a lot of good omens when I really put it into perspective. Actually, I didn't think I'd have this many in the S tier, but this is another one. Spoiler alert: that is S tier for sure. This is the Soul Killer, I believe it's called. This is the Rapidity omen. Let me try and find it in the list of omens. Where the heck is it? Is it another one that's missing? No, here it is. In a basic attack, okay, I guess that's one way to word it. In a basic attack, swing the Soul Killer to deal damage according to the higher between physic and magic. So it's like very straightforward and basic what it does. Like whenever you use your basic attack, this lunges forward with its own attack. So you can kind of consider it like Goldmane Rapier, but without like the throttle of also, wow, there's a lot. I have the most items in S tier. I'm not shocked by that though. You can consider it the Goldmane Rapier, but without the added additional hurdle of like needing to attack 3 times. And also it's way more powerful. This is like definitely a high S tier omen for sure. The Soul Killer is very good. It's like kind of scary on basic attack runs because you have to be really close to the enemy with omen. And generally my preference with omen runs is to get damaging effects that allow me to fight for further away, like Raven's Monarch Feather or Multidimensional Prism. However, this item is very powerful and it justifies itself for sure. I actually think it's probably good here. Like that's a perfectly acceptable place for it. It is good. It's a very good omen. Man, I didn't think I'd have this many S tier items, but like it is deserved. This item has a lot of good items. This game has a lot of good items in it. And here is the item that is last. It's kind of poetic, I guess, that this is last. This is the item that Streaming Guy won't shut the hell up about in my comments, and you guys like all of his comments, so I guess you guys like him yapping. This is, what's it called? I always forget. Decide. Yeah, Decide. This is the Hidden Blade Omen. So my rule of the inscription deciding the power of the omen is kind of my initial response towards this item. Decide is deal a basic attack within 1 second of dodging an enemy attack, then move to the nearest enemy and ambush them, dealing damage based on the higher between physical and magic. Damage dealt to the ambushed enemy is amplified by 50% for 3 seconds. So what this item does is after you dodge an attack, it displaces you to the nearest enemy. Like it teleports you to the closest enemy. And when it does that, because the thing is, I've never used this. That's like part of the running joke. Is it deals damage to them, and then that enemy takes 50% amplified damage for 3 seconds. I have written this item off for a long time as terrible and unusable. However, some people in my community swear it's like, so Streaming Guy says it's good, but he's a troll, so we can't listen to him. He's just saying things to say things. But like, he is not wrong when he talks about the amplification being really good. 50% amplification is huge. The thing that turns me away from this item is the fact that it displaces you without your consent. It just teleports you randomly to a nearby enemy. I have other people in my community who say it's fine. It's like whatever. Like it's a completely acceptable omen, but like the downside is pretty enormous. I guess we can end this on the best possible. Wait, what happened here? What the heck? Let's see. That is not what I wanted to happen there. I want to add a row. That's what I wanted to do. This is the untiered row. And, oh, there's another new. Or what the heck? Hang on. What is happening, Tier Maker? You need to chill the fuck out now. This is D tier. Change it back to green. The bit's kind of a little ruined by this point, but this is the untiered row. I'll just call it question mark, question mark, question mark. And this is where I'm putting decide, because like I said, I've never used this item. So I can't really judge it very fairly now, can I? And I will never use decide as long as Streaming Guy keeps asking me to. So if you guys truly want me to see decide, you have to stop liking Streaming Guy's comments, okay? You have to, please. Because it's not going to happen. It's a matter of pride at this point. I can't do it. So yeah, that's the tier list. Holy shit. What a freaking journey. I'll do a slow scroll here so you guys can get an idea. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 na 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 na. Okay, I'm done. Sorry. I don't know why I felt it fitting to do the Jurassic Park theme there, but I did. If you could even tell that was the Jurassic Park theme, because it was like off key and terrible. But yeah, that's my tier list. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, I've said this at the end of every tier list video. Don't take it too seriously. This is for fun. It's basically I consider tier list a vehicle for discussions. Like, it's just a way for me to ramble and, I guess, podcast style tell you things about the game that I feel. So items are, there's close to 300 items in this game now. Obviously, I don't have all of them here because I don't add transformations. But, like, this is a lot of shit. A lot of shit. I hope I didn't forget anything. If I did, I apologize, and just remind me. I'm sure there's something I forgot, because I kept finding items I forgot to put into the icons down here. I added 2 Chimera Fangs somehow. It's bound to happen. However, I think it's pretty good overall, and now you guys can make your own tier lists and share them and discuss with your friends and shit. Post in the Reddit, as I'm sure people will. I love seeing the Reddit tier lists. They're always hilarious. I mean that in the nicest way possible. But yeah, that's all I got. I have to hurry and end this. I wish I could say more. Thank you guys for 3,000 subscribers. I very much appreciate everything you guys have given me. I will hopefully continue to entertain people and be informative. And I've been saying this in the comments of my videos. I do intend on making a video soon where I lay out my run building theory and style in detail, just flatly, for new players and old players alike. Because I do have a unique playstyle in this game that I'm sure people kind of rub their heads about sometimes. But I will, hopefully, the second I get the motivation for it, be making that video for people. And that's really all I have to say. I got done just in time, thank God. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate y'all, and I will see you guys again in the next one, which will be a Skul run. So, yippee. Bye-bye.